In a sort of free and open democratic society, the ideal is to kind of say, well, maybe you believe that, maybe you want to live that way, but that's not for me. You do you, and I'll do me. But those who are trapped in that deception, that's not good enough for them.
Right.
Because they need people around them telling them what they want to hear. Otherwise, someone may come in and say something contrary to the lie they believe.
Well, that's the nature of a cult, right? The nature of a cult is you need to keep the lie going. And you better not dare think for yourself. You better agree with the leader. And if you dare disagree with the leader, you're out of the cult. We're kicking you out. Right? It's deception in itself. It's manifesting in that context of a creepy cult, right? There's a lot of cults that have come out, like, been exposed the last several years. And this is the nature of that, is don't you dare think freely. How dare you have a free thought? And now, don't you dare, I mean, let's talk about political ideology, shall we? It's like, don't you dare think different than your party. You better agree with me.
You better fall in line.
You better fall in line.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of deception. And I think it's time we get into the spiritual side of this, because we talked about the world, we talked about the flesh, but let's talk about the devil. At what point is there influence from the enemy spiritually versus my choices to follow? Similar to God calling me, like David talked about with free will and his divine call in your life, there's also an enemy trying to call you another direction. Equally as much as God is, I would say God is greater, obviously, but there is influence.
There's large pull.
There's a pull.
Yeah.
So the flesh is in you, the world is outside of you, pulling you in gravity, but then the enemy, I think, is deceiving you. The nature of deception comes directly from the demonic realm. I truly believe that. You see it in the garden. You see it with Cain killing Abel. You see it with Babylon. You see it all the way through the Bible. And we can get into Genesis 6 if you want. That's a whole nother idea of deception manifested physically on the earth.
Yeah.
Spiritual and physical meeting. And it's a little scary.
And it comes from rebellion.
Ooh.
That's what it comes from.
Yep.
It comes from, I don't like the way things are going. I want. It's an ego thing. And something I can't remember what it was in a video or a thing I read today, but it was like rebellion. As long as there's rebellion, I don't remember the quote, but it was really great. It was like something like rebellion, and he was talking about rebellion, and something about if there's always rebellion, there's always a divide of some sort, obviously, because there's rebellion. You're rebelling, like the principalities rebelled against God, Satan against God, all these things.
What's the opposite of rebellion?
Unity. Maybe.
I
Would
think it goes
say
deeper than
obedience, maybe.
Submission is what I was
Submission.
saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Same
there you
idea.
go.
But what you talked about rebellion, and it made me think of, I can't remember where it's found, but it's where it says rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
Whenever
Whenever there's rebellion, there is witchcraft, is what the guy said.
yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
a
something like that.
verse,
Something
and
First Samuel 15:23.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at you.
Thank you, JMO. It says 15:23 says, "For the rebellion is the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is the iniquity and idolatry, because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord."
Now, when they're
He-
talking,
hold on.
Sorry.
He hath also rejected thee from being king. Talking about Saul. Yikes.
Oh.
Talk about pride.
Yeah, because he
Talk about
let
that.
all that stuff into his
Oh
kingdom.
man.
And so it's
so good.
very interesting that the Bible describes rebellion in that way, because it's like if we decide we don't want to submit to God, it's not a small thing, but it's like the power of darkness is being exercised over our lives in that moment.
Yeah.
So you're almost inviting it?
Like a willing guest.
Like a vampire knocking at the door.
Yeah.
I don't mean to get creepy, but almost host-like.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
Like
100%.
I'm a home, come live in me.
Yep.
You can get into the demonic, you can get into possession and all that kind of stuff.